Okay, so here is my 1987 Honda XL250R. Currently doing some repairs on it. I have taken the carburetors off, and I have purchased all new jets as well as gaskets just to make sure that the cars will be running smoothly, since it was having idling issues and it was also bogging as well. So I took some mechanics gloves and I put it over the intakes so that no dust gets in there while I'm repairing it. But as I was taking it apart, I noticed a few things, and I did some Googling, and it turns out that this bike was supposed to have a decompression lever somewhere on the bike. I can't exactly figure out where it would have gone, but it was not on the bike when I purchased it. So if I walk around to the right hand side of the bike here, you will see this right here, and this is where I think the decompression cable goes, but I don't know if it goes there or if it goes here. I looked in the manual and there wasn't anything that was specifying how exactly I actually linked the cable up, so I don't know if it goes here or if it goes there. And if it does go here as opposed to down there, I don't actually know what this does. Another thing that I noticed is that right here on the front, right below this right here, which holds the oil filter in there, there's this wire right here. And these aren't completely cut, but it looks like something may have gnawed, some animal may have gnawed on this this wire, and I don't exactly know what it's called, and I don't exactly know how to fix it. However, it's a little hard to show on the camera, but all of the wires are actually intact there, but this is definitely something that I'd like to replace. I just don't know what it's called and where I could find a replacement for it. Alright, so now that we have the most, I'd say, concerning issues out of the way, well, actually, no. These tires, cracking, dry rotting, absolutely disgusting. I need to get these replaced before I even take this thing out on the road, because I don't have a death wish. But the rims themselves, they actually look quite fine, if you ignore the rusting on a few of the spokes, which I'm sure I can clean up. None of the spokes actually appear to be bent, and since I'd be changing the brakes anyways, it would probably just be something that I do at the same time. Another more concerning issue would be the casings here on the forks, which also lead me to believe that the fork seals need to be replaced, and I would probably need to put new fluid inside of the forks as well. But something that I have no experience with is working with electronics on a bike. You can see the electrical housing here. I don't exactly quite know what I'm looking at. When I referred to the manual that I have, it once again didn't specify exactly what each part does. I know that this wire right here works its way back to the brake light, and the brake light works, the front light works as well, but if I would like to get this thing inspected at all, I'm going to need some blinkers on the back there, and most likely some blinkers on the front as well. Now, I don't exactly know where I'd put those, but I would like to get them on sometime soon so that this thing is actually legal to drive on the road. If any of you would be able to help me diagnose what is wrong here, this actually, you can tell an animal knot on this one too, but the wire itself is intact, like I said, down there with that wire as well. But if anybody could help me figure out where I attach the blinkers to, I'd probably be looking at aftermarket blinkers, since in my opinion I think the OEM ones are way too bulky and they stick out far too much. So if anybody could help me with that, that would be awesome. A lot of you may be wondering what I mean when I say that it's a specific diagram of a part, or maybe an electrical system isn't outlined in the manual. This is the manual that I have right here, and it is specified for the bike that I have. The problem that I have with it is that since it has so many different models and years in it, It skims over a few really quirky features that the XR250 or the XL250R has, especially from 1987, since it was the last year that the model was produced. Especially when you go to the carburetor section on page 247. The carburetors that it shows for this bike are completely different than the carburetors that I'm working with. For example, here, this is accurate, but if I wanted to, for say, adjust the needle height in the slide, it outlines it right here, and the top set near the diaphragm there looks completely different on my carburetors than it's outlined in this manual, meaning that I don't know how to adjust it. And even with the extensive research that I've done, I wasn't able to figure that out. Another example would be that I don't even have that screw there. These are completely different carbs than what I'm working with. So just like here, this looks like a fuel accelerator. I don't have one of those on my carburetors. There's a slot for it on the side, but I actually opened up that case and it was completely empty. So it's small things like that that make this bike hard to work on, and even exploring numerous online forums trying to figure out the correct settings for the bike. I wasn't actually able to find the correct settings for the pilot jet or the air mixture screw, meaning that when I put the carburetors back on, I'm probably just going to have to mess with the pilot screw and the idle adjustment until I get a good mixture, and then I'll just check the spark plug after 10 minutes to see if it's running rich or lean. If so, I can just open up the carbs and change the pilot jet. But yeah, that's what I mean when I say that the manual doesn't exactly outline how I open up certain parts of the bike and perform maintenance on them, which makes it kind of difficult, and that's why I'm looking to you guys. And yeah, that's an overview of the 1987 Honda XL250R. If any of you are wondering, I purchased this bike for around $500. I knew I was going to be getting myself into a project. When I purchased it, it ran. It did have bogging issues, a little bit of rust in the gas tank, but I took care of that with some vinegar and some screws. I put all new fuel in there, and I thought that I would be able to keep it running. Unfortunately, that was not the case, so when I took the carbs off, I decided that I'd overhaul the entire bike as well. Yeah, I'd love to get some feedback on this bike, and any advice is greatly appreciated.